ask you all to stand and recite with us the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Oh, you say you have the minutes motion?
Yeah, yes I do. I move that the reading of the minutes for November 5th, 2012 be waived, and that minutes of said meeting as prepared by the secretary be approved as written.
Second.
Second by Crescelius. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Feltzing,
Aye.
Schramke,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Heidler,
Aye.
Crecilius,
Aye.
Chairman Manchester.
Aye. Rain, you have the request for waiver at 2405 Lone Oak Road.
I move that this commission receive and file the application of BLP Development, LLC, for approval to waive 13 parking spaces at 2405 Lone Oak Road pursuant to Section 126-71B2 of the Paducah zoning ordinance. I further move that this commission find the waiver of 13 parking stalls shall have no negative impact on the property, and a typical Subway restaurant generates a significant amount of drive-through service, thereby decreasing the amount of surface parking needed, and that the Planning Commission has approval to waive the parking requirements at 2405 Lone Oak Road. I further move the application be approved.
Second.
Second by Shadle. Discussion.
Yeah, that pretty much says it all, right? BLP Development is looking to build a new Subway restaurant. They own several Subways in, well, they own their franchisee throughout Western Kentucky, and they're also wanting to use this building for their office space. One half would be office space, the other would be a Subway. And like was stated, the typical requirements for a restaurant of this nature really aren't necessary for a Subway because there's hardly ever any sit-down. It's predominantly drive-through traffic in Subways. It's a little different than most fast food restaurants. So that's why they're requesting the waiver.
I have a question. I was looking at these. So the Subway portion is 1,730 square feet, of which 810 is what I would call retail space, would be the part that the customers are in?
That's correct. That's correct.
So then the rest of it would be whatever you do in a Subway restaurant. When you're talking about how many stalls will be needed for the office people, is someplace in here the calculation for the workers of Subway included?
It's not on the plan. Steve may have done that. I'm not sure.
Would you like me to go through the calculations of how that's figured? The office and the Subway, they're broken apart. The Subway calculation was based upon 1 per 30 GFA for actual public area, and that's usually on the customer side of the counter. So the total requirement for the Subway would have been 27 parking spaces for that 810 square feet based upon that 1 per 30 GFA. The customers and the employees are calculated into that 1 per 30 GFA. It's not separated out.
Very good, thank you.
And then the office space for their business is just, I know it was 6. They only required 6 parking spaces.
You said 6 for the office
Correct.
space, and then the rest of the spaces are for the restaurant itself.
That's exactly right.
If I may bring up one other point, the actual parking spaces that you see on the site plan, the number of what's proposed and what is required, there's only a difference of 9. In the resolution, it said 13. The reasoning for that is the 4 parking spaces that you see along U.S. Highway 45 and Lone Oak Road. Through the final site plan process, staff will most likely require that to be revised and reduced to allow for stacking for the subway drive-through. If you'll notice, there's probably a 24-foot back from the perpendicular parking to the building. They need a minimum of 9 feet drive-through lane plus 24 feet for a backing up area. I think if they turn it at more of an angle, they may be able to keep 1 or 2 of those parking spaces, but we haven't got to that point. So as part of this resolution, it does say 13 to take into consideration that change in the future.
I have a question. It doesn't really have to do with the parking spaces, but you're taking out curb and gutter here to put in an entrance on Lone Oak Road. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Which will have to, I mean, approval, that would have to come through the Kentucky Department of Highways encroachment permit process.
I was going to say, wow.
Of course, anybody out there is going to want access to Highway 45. And
I know, of course, I understand that. But, you know, I know you've got access onto Mohawk Drive. That was my question.
And
like I said, it doesn't really have anything to do with the issue.
if for whatever reason that permit was denied, I mean, they obviously would have access to that's just kind of a side issue, I guess, that we're in the process of getting permitted.
This road have the same traffic as the mall, Steve?
No, US 60 has the highest traffic counts in Paducah.
And Lone Oak Road is up amongst the top.
Absolutely, there and Hannon Plaza area, and then Clarks River Road on the south side.
And as I understand it, the business will have a drive-through on the portion nearest Mohawk.
That's correct.
I just have a question, too, and this is kind of related to that. If the highway department should deny the curb cut, if they should, would you all add in more parking spaces?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that was just a question I had.
What would the traffic pattern be if that was closed on Highway 55?
What would the pattern be? I mean,
How do you get by the driveway and window?
well, they would come around they'd come around the back of the building, and I'd have to be honest with you, I would think that traffic coming from the interstate is probably going to hit Mohawk Drive anyway. I would think a lot of it would, just because it'd be an easier movement. So
there is sufficient to go around the building and.
Well,
definitely.
The problem is that it's, as I see it, and I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying, as I see the problem, is that people not only are going to go south, they're going to be going north and cutting across a turn lane that's turning to go into Mohawk, and they're going to be pulling behind cars that are waiting to turn left on the Mohawk.
And I would,
headed north.
I don't disagree. I would think that the highway department will probably take all that into consideration before granting approval.
What is directly across the street from this? McDonald's is down a little bit.
It's a Kmart. The one little curb cut you see across the street, that's one of the entrances to Kmart.
See, this is where the old dentist office used to be.
Chili.
Chili's.
And it is the only property on the north side of US Highway 45 that is actually zoned commercial, and that was done many years ago.
Right.
So that all the way back to Highway 24 is not zoned commercial.
All zoned residential, that's correct. This is the only piece of property.
The other side of this is a cemetery, correct?
That's correct, until you get up towards, I think it's Lakeview, where the commercial development starts again.
Paducah Bank there, yeah.
That's on that
Any other questions? Call the roll, Steve.
Schramke,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Tyler,
Aye.
Priscillius,
Aye.
Feltzing,
Aye.
Chairman Manchester.
Aye.
Thanks.
John, you have the request for signage at 2501 Kentucky Western, Baptist or whatever it is, Health
Yes, I do, whatever. I move that this commission receive and file the application of Baptist Health for the approval of 2 campus signs to be located at 2501 Kentucky Avenue pursuant to Section 126-76B of the Paducah zoning ordinance. I further move that this commission find that the signs will not have a negative impact on vehicular traffic or adjacent neighbors, and that the Planning Commission has approval authority for the campus signs to be located at 2501 Kentucky Avenue. I further move that this application be approved.
Okay.
Second by Shramky. Discussion.
Well, I do have another question.
Mr. Randy Davis is here representing Western Baptist Hospital.
Hi, Randy. A couple of questions. First of all, are these signs installed yet?
No.
Thank you. We have that every once in a while.
That has been a problem.
They're due to be unveiled February the 1st.
Okay, and are these in addition to or instead of?
These are in addition to. And this is phase 1 of our rebranding. These are what's called the beacon signs, these 2 locations. The existing call signs with the red on the sides on each corner, only the top of those that say Western Baptist will be taken out with the new name put in those. And that's just temporary for February 1st kickoff. Eventually, those signs will completely be redone and recladded, but not in this first phase. So the beacon signs and then on those taller signs are the only things that's in phase 1.
But they're new signs. There's nothing there
These
now.
2 are new signs, yes.
So all the signs like Central Baptist and Lexington, all those are going to be Baptist.
Right, exactly.
Are these going to be internally lit?
Yes.
They don't flash or have messages.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much. Call roll, please.
Shadle,
Aye.
Tyler,
Aye.
Resilius,
Aye.
Feltzing,
Aye.
Ramke,
Aye.
Chairman Manchester.
Aye. Steve, can you bring us up to date on a couple things? The first one is ramp.
Yes, we will be having a public hearing on the Renaissance Area Master Plan on December 17th at 6 p.m. There will be a notification put in the newspaper this Sunday advertising that public hearing. I anticipate getting the document that has been approved by PRDA middle to latter this portion of this week or the first of next week. As soon as I do receive it, I plan on preparing a staff report on that one item as it relates to your all's request of the changes, and then I will be mailing that to you. I anticipate doing that in advance of your normal staff report, so you should have some extra time to look at it. So hopefully in the next week, 8 days or so, you all should be getting something in the mail as it relates to the Renaissance Area Master Plan, and then actually having the public hearing on December 17th.
Will that, what you're sending to us, will reflect the changes?
Mr. Feltzing, I have not seen the document yet. I forwarded on the list of requested changes to PRDA staff. They've gone through it, made changes to it, and adopted it as a board. When I get that back in, I will be reviewing that per your all's request and sending my notes along with that document to you.
Will you be able to put, kind of a side-by-side of what we suggested and what they're coming back with? Can you do that?
I'd be happy to.
Y'all have any questions?
No more on that.
I asked you before the meeting another item, and that is what's happening on sign enforcement.
Yes. Over the last several weeks, planning staff has taken some time and driven most of the arterials corridors within the community and written up sign violations. At this point, we're going back and taking some pictures of those properties and getting ready to send out certified letters to many property owners within the community about those violations, asking them just please comply with the zoning regulations at this time. So here in the next week or so, those will be going out. I would ask the community to please understand that we do have adopted laws within the community, and we need to abide by those. We're trying to be business friendly, but we still need to abide by those adopted laws of the city.
One of those is that they receive notification of a violation, and that's what y'all are doing at this point.
Just bring it to their attention of the violation, this section, and asking them to remove the violation. That's correct. And there's.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I'm sure in your letter you'll enumerate for them what the violation is.
Yes.
And what the law says that they should be following exactly, so that there won't be any question.
That's correct. And a good portion of those violations are, the first one is electronic message signs. We have limitations. They can stay up for 5 seconds. They can change over with 3-second period, and that's the rule on those. And if you remember, we've changed that many times. It started out at 5 minutes, went down to a minute, and now where we're at. So I think the city has been very flexible with electronic message signs. The other ones are the temporary signs. We have temporary flags, temporary banners, temporary signs all over the city, and we need to bring that back into control.
They're becoming permanent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was going to say, I don't guess there's this kind of a way of getting around the ordinance is those people who stand on the side of the road with the signs. There's not any way to.
That's a different.
Truly a temporary sign.
Yes, and also I think at that point you really start getting into other issues as it relates to freedom of speech, a person on, that's a little bit different than a permanent or temporary sign placed on the ground.
Interesting. Freedom of speech. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Being a news person, you wouldn't think of that.
No, I wouldn't think of that. A sale sign is freedom of speech.
Well, yeah.
Interesting.
I have one other question.
Yes, sir.
Relate to any of those. Is Mr. Cromwell totally gone from the,
He has not been reappointed, no.
and when does reappointment come about, or do we get to report? Has it been gone long enough that we do it now?
Where I had a discussion with Mr. Key before the meeting on that, and I would anticipate during the next week, hopefully bringing somebody before the commission for that reappointment, and have been speaking to some of my bosses about that. So.
Good. Good.
I thought maybe we were waiting till the new commission came in, but
yeah,
that's in the works right
Yeah.
now.
Yes, it is, and quite often the
People
mayor.
don't know we have 7 members, and we only have 6 because one has not been reappointed.
Right.
And it's been a couple, 3 months more.
But certainly I would take any thoughts that you all ever have on these.
Well, it wasn't
in-
that. It was just, am I not correct? If the commission doesn't do it within a certain time period, then this commission does?
That's correct.
Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or has the ability to.
Has the ability to do it, yes.
The Hark Board has the same problem, and they're a smaller board, so it really has more impact if one's not there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments, or see you all then, I hope, fully informed on the 17th of December.
I can't believe it.
It hasn't.
Well, somebody said in the office has been here many times.
There's
Waiting for us.
people who have been here faithfully.
I'm glad you
I
did.
know it's been
Thank
a
you
while.
for bringing that. I understand. Any other business, ladies and gentlemen? We stand adjourned.
Thank you.